I was in a meeting of our leadership team, sitting around a table, and our field operations manager, Derek Newman, got the message over his cell phone that a fire had just broken out.
And we got a radio call about a thick plume of smoke coming up over the hills over by where our property was.
He wasn't particularly concerned at that time, but that changed very rapidly in the course of about an hour.
It was a really hot, windy day. So when I first found out about it, I knew that it was going to be bad just from the climatic conditions.
And we were able to look outside and see the mushroom cloud building of the cloud smoke and knew that it was really close to one of our preserves up in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
And just getting the updates from CAL FIRE, it looked like it was going to be a significant fire.
This was a very high-intensity fire, almost a scorched earth fire. It was not a fire that we've seen in decades past that happens on a more regular basis and is less intense.
Looking at the origin of the fire here, a structure fire that started right below me and started moving uphill toward Loma Prieta, and that was where the initial firefighting activities took place, were to defend the structures up there on Loma Prieta, which is the main communications peak tower for most of Santa Clara County and also Santa Cruz County.
Well, with any fire, wildfire that is happening in your own backyard, there's a bit of an ominous feel. You don't know how big it is, how long will it last, how big is the fire, how much damage is there going to be, and so there's an unknown there.
But the majority of the area was completely charred. It really looked like a moonscape, like even the rocks were, black. CAL FIRE was able to create a burn in order to prevent the fire from spreading rapidly through it. Just the understory was gone, but there was an overstory. So you had trees, but you lacked the vegetation under the trees.
Well, we have a very experienced, very responsible field operations staff who are out on our properties, know the properties like the back of their hands. And they brought that knowledge to working with firefighters from CAL FIRE, from even the city of San Jose and the county of Santa Clara, worked very closely with them to help direct the operations, not only to be more successful in fighting the fire, but in trying to reduce the damage to natural resources. Had that fire not been stopped in Rancho Cañada del Oro, it would have come down into an area of Morgan Hill and putting many more homes at risk.
By the time October rolled around, we were really close to the winter season. And even though we were coming out of a 5-year drought, there were no expectations that the next year would still be a drought, and all the models were looking to be a really wet year.
It felt like just being hit twice with two big natural disasters.
Llagas Creek that flows through this area now has become the road, and the road has become the creek.
This was not a direct result of the fire, but an indirect result of the fire, where you ended up having a lot of moisture coming down onto the soils and coming through the zone that had already started to slide a long time ago. And the end result was a lot of the debris material coming down and blocking Llagas Creek and basically rerouting the creek onto the roadbed. Impressive what nature can do. Very, very impressive.
Our healthy watersheds are really important for healthy water supply, both in terms of capturing the water so it doesn't just run off, and then also for protecting our reservoirs. Days after the fire, there were very few animals, no birds chirping, maybe some ants.
but we did definitely see an increase in the amount of deer coming down and feeding in the meadows.
And over time, you could see as the vegetation came in that more wildlife was coming back.
And the seeds are being reproduced out there, they're being moved around by the animals, and all the vegetation is happening, so the coverage is there and the animals are coming back and reclaiming their habitat.
In the summer, areas within where it wasn't quite as hot, you had a really spectacular understory. We had fabulous wildflower displays, including of rare plants.
The amount of revegetation that's happened is actually exceeding my expectation. You're seeing stump sprouting where the bay trees are basically regenerating from the stumps of the existing parent tree. So the fire will come through and what looks like was death to begin with is actually just the upper surface of it dying off, and the roots still have enough energy to be able to resprout.
Fire is part of a healthy ecosystem and has been for hundreds of thousands of years. What's different today is that we're facing an uncertain future with climate change. Drier conditions, hotter fires, more frequent fires.
Properly managed, we actually reduce the threat of wildfire by reducing the amount of fuels that could potentially be present during these forest fires.
Collaboration happens when we help to manage lands, including fire breaks. The collaboration happens when we share information about stewardship of natural resources and working closely with other agencies on the front end of natural disasters to make sure that there's less of an impact later on when we do have those fires.
And it really allowed us to build relationships with a lot of the residents up there. It allowed us to get to know several that we didn't really know well to begin with.
Nature provides certain benefits that we take for granted and consider are free. Cleaning our air, filtering our water, reducing downstream flood risk. It's going to take a long time for those services to build back up again.